Hello there in video land. My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is your city, your voice. Let me just get my radio guys going here. Okay, we're all tuned into the radio now. We'll get that going, and we are ready to go here. Paul K. Lemire with my guest today, Chris RIGAS.
How you doing?
Say something nice.
It's hard to say anything nice today.
You know what? I agree, because the subject we're going to talk about isn't a nice subject today. But to all the viewers out there in video land and all the guys on the radio, what we're talking about today is the regional budget. That's why I hauled Chris into the studio here, because Chris, who is the owner of the Old Fire Hall restaurant, by the way, also gets beat twice.
Yeah.
You take a double beating.
Twice, yeah. Niagara on the Lake, 14.4% increase.
Yeah, that's his restaurant, where his restaurant is. And then he takes a beating because he lives in Niagara Falls. So, and then he takes the third beating from the region. So Chris is a beast for punishment over here, everybody. So what we're going to talk about is the regional budget. And before we get into it, let's acknowledge my great sponsors. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Victoria Avenue Pete's Pizza. Now, look at this weather out there, Chris. It's terrible.
It's nasty today.
It's nasty, that cold November rain.
Yeah.
If you remember anything about Guns N' Roses. Well, this is it. This is it. So you want to make sure your car's running right. You don't want to break down on the side of the road today. Believe me, you just don't want to do it. So what do? You be proactive. Get your car into Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Let him take a look at your car. He'll check your brakes, your fluids, your everything. He's going to do everything. Throw your car on his diagnostic equipment. Make sure there's no error codes that are going to pop up and screw you up down the road, and then he's going to fix any problems if there are any. Get you on the road happy. Now, if you get in a wreck, there's bad drivers in Niagara Falls. Well, you can take your car there to fix it. He's going to put your car back into showroom condition, get you out. You'll be happy. I'll be happy. Ken's going to be happy. He's on Oakwood Drive next to the Kia dealership. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Give Ken a call today. Get your before winter inspection. He'll inspect your car for free. Tell him Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you, and we thank you for supporting our sponsors, and we also thank you for watching the video, subscribing to the video, hitting the thumbs up, thumbs down, giving us comments, because at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about them on the air eventually when I get these comments, and it's great to see people involved and getting their opinion on different things. That's what I like. That's what this is all about, Your City, Your Voice. So, we didn't order this day, but it's here, and not much we can do about it except cover your head and run to the car. That's about it. So we're going to talk about the region's capital budget today. And, I have a really hard time going through this budget, Chris.
Yep.
These guys, Chris and I sit there every time he comes in and we say, have you heard anything from the region? Well, not really. And then we go, uh-oh. Because, when they're quiet,
they're sneaking something in.
They're planning. They're plotting. And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to go that route. So they've released a lot of different budgets. We're going to talk about them all. But I think before we do, because it is so complicated, there's no really simple presentation. And there's so many different budgets, gross, net, projected, the funds from here, funds from there. It's meant to keep everybody confused, Chris, I think.
I think so. They release everything piecemeal. And, so they say, this department's only going up 1.2%, and that department's going up 2.4%, and that department's going up 3%. So everybody's like, oh, that's okay. That's not too bad. It's all right. And then they hit you with they lull you into this sleep, and then they give you a right hook and say, hey, property taxes are going up 8.72%.
Yeah, we're not talking about Mike Tyson right hook in that fight last week.
No, he wouldn't throw him.
No, these guys throw way better right hooks than Mike Tyson ever did,
absolutely.
Believe me.
Yeah,
and they follow up with the left when they throw you to the city.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think basically, let's just talk for a second about what the difference is between the capital budget and the operations budget, and what are the other budgets that aren't included in that we also get a taste of in addition to the capital budget and the operations budget. So What's the capital budget? Give us an explanation.
So the capital budget is investments in new, for instance, a new water plant. If you're building a new water and wastewater facility, or if you're building a new building for your waste management division, or you're buying buses or trucks, or that kind of thing. So those kind of things run under capital budgets, capital investment. And operational is kind of like, okay, so if you're fixing those trucks, that's an operational cost. If you're hiring more staff to operate, that's an operational cost. Energy costs are operational costs, that sort of thing. Wages are operational costs. So that's the separation. So capital investments like buying the building for a business, and then the operational cost is the cost of actually running the business.
Yeah. So and it also includes infrastructure, like if they're going to pave roads, if they're going to dig up and put new sewers in, or put in new roads, that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. Infrastructure investment overall. But that's the thing. Like, so, like I said, but maintenance of those systems, for instance, that's operational, right? So if you put a new sewer line in, and then you got guys coming in doing the maintenance on them, like cleaning them out or vacuuming them or whatever it is that they do to clear out the grease blobs or whatever. So that's an operational cost.
Yeah, or maintenance of roads.
Yeah.
Anything you do to maintain anything. Hiring is operations. So if you got your staff is operations.
Yeah.
Anything to do with kind of keeping the city operating.
Yeah.
Right? It's like your house, right? You got to put on a new roof. You got their capital project. Put on a new roof. Whatever. Pave your driveway. All that stuff. And that's usually offset by development charges. So to be able for somebody to put up a building, they have to pay development charges. And that goes into a pot to help keep the roads and that thing
going.
So
they say.
Well, they're supposed to.
Well, I mean, so they charge you for that road 6 times, 6 different ways, right? They tell you that the property taxes are for the roads, and then they tell you that the capital cost for the road and the development charges for the roads, and this is for the roads, and that's for the road. Well, how many times are you paying for the road?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And then they always pull the old trick of underestimating the cost or overestimating the cost of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
This is a trick I see them pull. If a road costs $1 million, they'll put it down as 1.5 million. They come in under budget and they keep the $500,000 somewhere.
Yep. Well, they spend it somewhere else. Yeah, they just until they just move things around, and they keep it's exponential increases. So,
and operations is usually like the bigger than the capital budget, because to run the region costs a lot more than just to put in a few roads and that kind of thing.
Yeah, although I think I read this year was like 300 and something million.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I might have even written it down. What the last year's budget was, I don't know. But last year's budget was split up between a bunch of things. And 24. If I find it, I'll go through it. I think I did write it down. But maybe I didn't, because it's so crazy.
Anyway.
What's the matter?
No, just that.
Oh, what is that?
My mic.
No, that's
not your mic. Okay, it's not my mic. I'm just checking.
You're special. You're right beside me.
Oh, I'm over there. Okay, I'm over there.
Yeah, I move you around. See?
All right.
See, I'm like the region. I confuse everybody over here.
That's it. Paul.
I'm regional Paul.
You got that one labeled that one, and then my goodness.
And then you moved over here.
Okay. Well, that's what they do.
But see, here's the difference. This one cost $1 million. That one cost $10 million.
All right. Well, it's like a shell game. Keep your eye on the ball.
So that's the region between the budgets. Now we have the capital budget, and we have the regional budget, but that's not all. It gets better.
Oh yeah, you've got your transit, you got your waste management, you got your regional housing. Now some of that's like regional housing is actually, I think it's not a separate, so it's not a separate line item on your tax bill. That's included in the region budget, but they listed that as part of they separated it out to show everybody that they're increasing the regional housing budget. I think that they released something publicly on that, because they don't normally, I've never really seen before this year a release on the housing budget, but they're trying to get on this on the train. Everybody's talking about housing, but if you want to keep people in their houses, control the cost of property taxes. You want to keep rents low, control the cost of property taxes and water rates. That's the best way to keep rents low. But these guys keep putting it up, and they keep saying that they care about housing. And I think that they released that publicly, or there was a point made to in the news articles, just to make it look like they're increasing that budget somehow that is beneficial towards, because that housing is the buzzword now, right? So I there's something there with that. I'm not exactly sure why they decided, because I've never seen that separated out before, like as far as a public statement about it.
Well, just so you can be shocked a little bit, I did do the math on the last year's budget, and I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but it ended up being around the capital budget and the operations budget ended up being around $250 million. That's billion with a B, dollars. And then once you throw in the other services, it ended up being just over $1 billion budget for the region.
Yeah, it's a little over $1 billion, right around 1.1.
And so it's going up again. Now, when we talk about 10% of $100, that's $10.
Yeah.
We talk about 10% of $1 million, that's 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about 10% of $1 billion,
that's $100 million. Yeah.
That's $100 million. So they're raising 8.72% is what they projected. So you do that on $1 billion, and that's a cool 800,000, right?
Yeah. Well, no. So it's not all. Here's the thing about that. So some of that revenue is downloaded. It comes from the province, right? You get some of that.
Yes. Yes.
Some of that operations from the province. So that levy, that 8.72, would be on their tax revenue, right? So the tax revenue is approximately. The last time I looked, it was around 450, but that was before the last increase and this proposed increase. So you're looking at about 500 million. That 8.72% will be on top of about 500 million.
So it'd be about 40,000.
Some more. No, 500 million would be 40 million.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
So it'd be about 40 million.
40 million. Yeah.
So. So that's what you're looking at, right about there.
I'm giving them a lot of credit here.
Yeah,
40,000.
Yeah, 40,000. That would be, for the region, that would be like
we'd be jumping through the window, dancing on the street.
Wow. So that's what I think that if I remember correctly, if don't take my numbers 100, because I haven't really dived into how much of the revenue that the region gets is actual property tax revenue in the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm trying to go from memory, about where it is right now. It's just a guesstimation, right? So,
yeah, and a lot of this is a guesstimation, only because you never know what they're up to, right?
They're not really transparent until the budget numbers, until they actually. So you don't really truly find out until like 2-3 years later when they publish their actual breakdowns of what they actually spent the money on, like 2-3 years. By then, it's too late anyway.
Well, here's one thing we know. The 2024 operations budget was set at $483 million, and the capital budget set at $270.3 million. So we do know one thing.
That was last year. Yeah.
They're going up.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, 100%. That's it's well over $300 million for the capital budget this year.
Yeah, 376 million.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
so it's gone up like
$100 million. $100 million. Yeah, just like that. Just you sneeze at you, and there you go. So here's the thing about capital budgets, right? So. They raise taxes to do these capital projects, and to fund them, and they fund them. I guess the projection is, I'm not sure. I haven't sat in a finance meeting, so I don't really know how they finance these things. But if they're projected to finance this over, let's say 10 years or 15 years, okay, so, and they put that percentage increase that they're financing that particular capital project at that 15 years, at the 15-year point, the capital project comes off the books, but they don't reduce the property taxes increase that they did 15 years ago.
Great point.
Right? So that's already built in. That's built into your taxes forever. Yeah. Right. So that's they constantly have capital project funding that expires every year. There's an expiration of a capital project they they financed either 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm assuming that they put these on a scale and they say, okay, we need this done. We need this water sewer treatment plant. And they're not going to do it all in 1 year. Or at least I don't think they would be that dumb. And they'll say, well, we need to finance this over the next, 10 years or 20 years, in order to mitigate costs for the taxpayer. So, we're going to raise the levy by 1% in order to do that. And 20 years from now, so that comes out of the books. It's paid for. That capital project is financed and it comes off the books. So 20 years ago, they invested in different things and they built different things, like whether it's the Burgoyne Bridge, which they blew completely, or a couple other different things, those things come off the books, but your property taxes are not subsequently reduced. That's why I'm always confused why they have to keep asking us for more money for capital projects. And I get that capital projects are more expensive today than they were 20 years ago, whatever it is, but you have expiring things. So why are the tax increases so darn high every single time? It doesn't make any sense because the money's already there. Because when it comes available in the budget, they throw it around in different places. And it's not like they're giving us a break on their increases because, last year we had the highest regional property tax increase in the province.
Yeah, in Ontario. Yes.
Okay? In the province.
And we're probably going to have the same this year.
Well, yeah. If you want to look at the last 3 years, it's absolutely ridiculous, right? So 2023 year property tax increase was 7.58%. 2024, which was the highest in Ontario at that time, 7.02%. And proposed in 2025 is 8.72%. Now, when you compound those, so everybody looks at those numbers and say, well, it's a 15 and 22% and 23%, 23.2%. But compound those, it's 25.17% because you're paying each increases on top of the last one. Okay. So, you're getting a 25% increase this is a systemic economic increase. Okay.
Yes.
This never goes away. So it's there forever.
And I'll give you a real good example of that if you want a pretty simple example. Is Niagara Falls is building a new hospital. Mm-hmm. And our what we have to kick in is around $30 million. So what the city did was they put this money aside and it's going to sit there for 5 years and it's going to grow to $30 million, right? So they set the money aside. So in 2028, when we have to cough up the money, it's 32 million, we're going to have it. Now, we were contributing 1.3 million to that every year when finally somebody stood up and said, we have the money. We already have it. We don't need to take the 1.3 million from the taxpayers anymore, which is what you're talking about, yeah. Right? Because it's paid. So we don't need that money anymore. So what are we going to do with it? Well, obviously, they're the government. So the idea of giving it back to taxpayers is abstract.
It doesn't happen.
And that's
the only place I've seen that happen in
real
life was Welland. Welland gave money back to their taxpayers. They had a negative increase 1 year.
Because of the regional transit, I think they offloaded it to the region.
No, that was prior to that.
Was that prior to it?
It was prior to the negative
regional
transit.
3%.
It was actually it was 2 subsequent years in a row. They had a 0 and then they got a 0.09% reduction. Yeah, which I was amazed. I was like, holy mackerel!
Yeah, that's
and this year they're coming in at about a 3% increase. I don't know why, but that's where they're at.
Well, it's funny because that 1.3 million. Instead of coming back to the taxpayer because we don't need it anymore, what they did was they stood up and they said, well, we'd like to put that in reserves for new vehicles because our reserve for new vehicles isn't enough. Yeah. And then they said, okay, that's all right, right? And the taxpayer's sitting there looking like, that's our money. Give it back to us so we don't have to pay another 7 or 8%.
No, it's insane. And like I said,
it stays there.
It stays there because they never give it back to you, number one. And number two, it's a systemic increase. So like I said, there's a multiplier effect to every action government does, okay? There's good ones and there's bad ones. Okay, so if a government builds a new office and puts, for instance, if they were to move one of their things downtown here and all the jobs came down here, all the lunch places would get busier and whatever. Okay, so that has a positive impact on the local businesses. You can say, okay, so there's a multiplier effect. Businesses have to hire more people, blah, blah, blah. Well, the same thing is true on their negative stuff. So when they do the 25.17% increase on taxes, I've said this before. I feel like I keep repeating myself, and I'm talking to the air. People don't listen. It's a negative multiplier effect. So what you do is, especially when you're talking to the communists in the world, they don't understand this. But so when you put a tax increase in, it has a multiplier effect through the economy. You have less jobs. Higher taxes means less jobs, less wages, less expendable income, less everything. It hurts disproportionately. And I'll tell you this too. The multimillionaires don't care as much about the tax increases as the person who is making $30,000 to $40,000 or $50,000 a year. That's just it. They don't care. Okay, so all you guys saying, "Oh, tax rich," oh, they need to pay their fair share and development charges and this and that and blah blah blah. It just hurts you. Honestly, it hurts you. They've got you fooled. Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Doug Ford, Andrea Horvath, whoever it is that says that taxes are okay. They're not. Okay, they're not. Any government official who tells you taxes are necessary is lying to you, and they're good for you as a lower income individual. If you're a lower income individual, or you don't make the $300,000 a year that let's say Dr. Hergy got, or 400 grand a year he was getting.
Yeah.
If you're not making that kind of money, this stuff disproportionately hurts you, because 25%. So if your house is worth $500,000 and you're making $50,000 a year, you think the guy who's living in a million plus house and he's making $200,000 a year cares about 25% as much as you do?
No. And people have to understand, this is the thing that makes me laugh. Every woke socialist is on there saying, we have to tax the corporate. No, listen to me closely. Corporations do not pay taxes. Even if you think they do, they don't. You know why? Because anything that they're taxed more on, they pass off to the consumer.
That's it. Walmart loves these increases.
Sure,
Walmart is happy about these increases. Why is Walmart happy about these increases? Because it eliminates any small competition that they have. Those smaller guys have trouble when it comes to this. They don't have that buying power. And then you're forced to go to Walmart. Walmart already discounts to compete. They discount and they make a marginal profit as it is. So what they do is they do it on volume, and they pay their employees a minimum, whatever they can. And it disproportionately, so all they have to do is put an item up, with their billions and billions in sales to deal with a 8% increase. All they got to do is put a few items up, a couple of pennies here and there, and they make it back, no problem. It's no problem. But for the small guy who has to have 3 employees who now need more money to pay their own property taxes, plus he's got to pay his property taxes at his business and his home, okay, now has to put up the price of his product. And guess who stops coming there because they can buy the same thing at Walmart? The average Joe.
The average Joe.
Okay? So that's all I'm saying, is that disproportionately, taxes hurt smaller businesses. They hurt lower income individuals. And I know that they might give you a check every once in a while, or this boneheaded, let's give everybody a GST holiday from December 14th to February 15th. That is a bonehead thing. Anyways, I never heard anything so dumb in my life. But, if you realize that the economy is that bad, that you've overtaxed people that much, why don't you do something about the taxes instead of just a Band-Aid? Here you go. Hey, it's like throwing treats to dogs. They're happy. They wag their tail. You give it to. That's how they look at you. That's how they're looking at you by proposing this stuff. You should be insulted the fact that they want to do this. Why don't they give you a real tax break and leave you alone?
Yeah, exactly. And I smell something. You smell it?
Yeah,
I smell an election coming up.
Well, but I'm just saying, all these gimmicks and boneheaded ideas, they don't do anything for anybody. And all they do, yeah, sure, it's great. You're going to save. You're going to buy a pair. You know what every business is doing right now? I tell you, every industry. Oh, geez, you know what? Hey, you're gonna we can raise our prices by 5%. We don't have to collect a tax on it, and everybody's still going to be happy.
Oh yeah, we're not charging any tax.
You know, and they're even giving it on restaurant meals. And you'd think maybe people would assume that I'm happy about it, but I'm not, because yeah, sure, maybe I'm going to generate a little bit more business, but over the long haul, it's not good for me, and it's not good for you. And I see it down the road. It's just not good for us. That sort of thing just isn't good. It creates a false sense of government doing something about the overall larger issues. They're not doing anything about them. In fact, they're doubling down on the issues that cost you money and hurt you and hurt the economy. They're doubling down on them. It's a scorched earth policy, and they think they're throwing you a bone. I'm insulted by it. Honestly, I am.
Well, you got the other problem too. Somebody comes into your restaurant, 4 people, and the tab comes out to say $250, right? With drinks and everything. Then all of a sudden, there's no 8% thing on it. So 8% is like $20 off. Then they come back after February 15th, and it's $20 more. And they say he raised his prices.
Yeah.
Right, and it had nothing to do with you raising your prices.
So my issue with that too is, like, I don't even know how I would implement that, because, like, okay, so I have to take, like, is the province participating, or do I still have to remit the provincial portion? Like, I would say so. And then so you got to change your whole POS setup and all this other stuff, and you only got to do it for 2 months, and it's like, so if you don't know how to do that stuff, you have to call someone in. It costs you money. Blah blah blah. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just get rid of the carbon tax? If you got rid of the carbon tax, everybody would be happier and better off.
Yes, exactly. And now we got April 1st coming up with another.
It's 17 cents a liter in gas right now. 17 cents of the liter that you pay in gas right now is carbon tax.
Yeah,
so if you really want to help people, get rid of the carbon tax. Just get rid of it. It's not doing anything anyways. You're collecting the money. You're offering people rebates, and you, because you know that it's a burden.
It's ridiculous, and it doesn't get any better. These guys they're birds. They really are. And you got to lower taxes. You got to make corporations able to thrive. And what the other thing that gets me about people is they say these CEOs. And I'm going, listen, if it's a private company, they can pay their CEOs whatever they want.
Shareholders have a say in the publicly traded companies, and the private companies, they get paid whatever they get paid. That's fine.
But they're not concerned about 80 MPs or MPPs or MPs that are hanging on because they want to delay the election in 2026. For Diwali for a week. That's what they're saying. But the real reason is because 80 MPPs qualify for their lifetime pension, which equals about $120 million. Nobody cares about that, but they care about a CEO.
Well, Jagmeet qualifies for his on March 17th.
There you go. There's no election till after that.
No, that's a guarantee.
Because he will not
So get the budget comes out and saying, if they don't vote down the budget, then we're going right to the end of October.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if he's got his pension, maybe he just doesn't really care about anybody.
Probably.
But it's March 17th. March 17th.
Reelected.
Well,
his riding maybe.
No, I think he'll win his riding. I don't know. I don't know what the polling numbers are in his riding, but I think he'll win his riding. I just don't think he'll still be leader of the NDP. No, so you qualify for your pension at your 5 best years in government, right?
Oh,
so like if he's the leader of one of the parties, and he's got that higher salary,
he gets $299,000,
whatever it is. Yeah, so his pension will be at that. It won't be at his regular MP salary.
He's gonna have to shoot in one of his Ferraris and another Rolex.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
He doesn't get it.
So, anyways, back to
the regional budget. So what we've got here is they approved a capital budget of $376 million, which, if I read it right, is a 30% increase from last year, because it was $200 million.
Yeah.
Right? So
270.
Yeah, it's a 30% increase. And we move over to police.
Yeah.
And before we get into police services, just let me get my last advertisement in for Victoria Avenue Pete's Pizza. Now, I'm a pizza snob. There's a lot of pizzas I won't eat in town because I just don't like their pizza, but Pete's Pizza is one of the ones that I like, down on Victoria Avenue. The guy who runs it worked in an Italian restaurant for 15 years, Mike. He knows what he's doing. He takes nice Saputo mozzarella, mixes it with brick so you get that nice stretchy flavor on it. He uses the Mancini family recipe. For 40 years, they've been making pizza in the Niagara region. And he uses their recipe for sauce and their crust. Believe me, this pizza is really good. And you know what? I had a piece of it for breakfast this morning because that's one of my tests. Cold out of the fridge. If I can eat it out of that, that's a good pizza. He uses all the freshest ingredients, but it's not just that. He has poutine. He has subs. He has panzerotti. You name it, he's got it. And the wings are really, really good there. Believe me, I've had them before, and I'm a funny guy about wings. A lot of places I won't order them neither because I don't like them. Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue has it all. And it's so easy to get a pizza. They got a menu that's 3 pages. It's unbelievable what they carry. Poutine, you name it, they got everything. 905-374-2222 or Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca, and you get a nice pizza from there in 20 minutes. How can you beat it? Now, he's extended his hours for you as well. He's open till midnight on Sundays and Friday and Saturday till 2 in the morning. So if you go out and have something, a few pops and you're a little bit hungry, you're good till 2 in the morning. And a lot of places aren't open till 2 in the morning around here. So it's Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue. That's who you got to call. Order online. Give him a call. Mike's going to take care of you. You're going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Support our sponsors. We appreciate it. And Chris knows about food. Chris is another foodie.
Yes.
That's what he does for a living.
Yes.
So he's like, Mike, support our sponsors. We appreciate it. They support the city and work in the city and do things for the city. So they support us. You got to support them. Okay, so back to the police services budget. Now they are looking for 13.18% increase, which is up from 188 million last year to 213 or 15 million this year. So that's about a $40 million increase, something like that. 45 million.
It's quite a bit. Yeah,
a nice little $45 million
to 213. Yeah, it's about 30 million.
Yeah, 30 million. Yeah, 188, 30. Yeah, about $30 million. Cool.
25 even.
And they want to hire 60 more people.
Okay, I hope they're actual frontline guys, and we're gonna.
Some are admin.
Well,
of course.
Well, you need admin to support, I guess, the front ones. I don't know. I don't like the idea of hiring an admin because you got enough admin. Everybody always thinks you need more administration. You need more administration, and so you get them in there, and then all of a sudden, and then you think you can't do it alone, but nobody's doing any work, right? Like it's just people are going in and doing a couple things a day, and like, they think they work the day, So hiring, you need. Look, the region is growing. We are getting an influx of people moving down here. Some services more, and we have an issue with some crime.
Oh yeah, big issue.
So, but the problem is that we could solve the need for all these police officers, put people in jail, and kept them there, right?
What a great idea!
So a little bit of I hope that it is the guys that are out there, and I hope that they're out there arresting like people and getting them off of people's property, and if they if they're trying to break into somebody's house, and I hope we're getting to those calls quickly, and we get those people off the streets. That's my if you're going to spend the money, you got to do the job, right? And I'm not saying that the cops aren't doing their job, but I think they've been handcuffed a little bit by what they're allowed to do or what they've given up on some things, right? Like small property crime, So Rudy Giuliani, I know what people got when he took over as mayor of New York City. New York City was a cesspool of drugs and violence and shootings and murders and stuff like that. And Rudy Giuliani's philosophy was, if you crack down on those people who are doing the minor crimes, the shoplifting and that kind of thing, then you end up solving, and he was proven to be true because the crime rate in New York just dropped. It changed it completely, and that's what he did. So he took all the vagrants and all the people committing minor crimes or thefts and robberies or assaults and that kind of thing, and he took them all off the street, and then you found an exponential drop in violent crime and violent stuff. That major thefts, major robberies, armed robberies, that kind of thing went down also, right? So, and it went down a lot. So there's a philosophy to that. And, if these guys, if they can do that, I mean, then the extra 25 million is well worth it, right? If that can happen. But if it's just hiring admin and you're going to have a few more officers out there just to kind of usher people off of people's property, or just release people, or they get arrested. You arrest people and then they get released on bail. It's like a turnaround bail thing. Then why bother? Just leave it the way it is. You don't need to spend the 25 million,
because that revolving door in the courts doesn't help anybody, and this is the biggest problem. Our numbers are going up 30 million or 35 million more because they need more people to look after the influx of people in this area, and a lot of them are offshore people, and there's a lot of domestic stuff going on, a lot of stabbings, a lot of shootings. People come down to this area, and the homeless situation doesn't help either. So in regard to that, tougher judges, tougher courts, put these guys away, and this non-withstanding clause that Ford's going to use to clear out these encampments. Now, I know people don't like it, but listen, here's my thing with that, Chris. For 20 years, we've been trying to do the same thing. Free needles, free this, it's a safe zone, and it hasn't worked. The situation's getting worse, and I heard it again yesterday. The situation is worse than it was a year ago. There's got to be a new way to do it, and if the non-withstanding clause works, I think Mayor, that's one thing I agree with Mayor Jim. I know a lot of people are giving him blowback about it, but we got to change the way we handle this.
Well, I want to ask the people who will watch this or who are listening right now a question. Of all, we've been told for the last 10 years, and I don't remember any of this being the issue that it is today. We've been told for the last 10 years, though, that spending money and giving these needles, spending money on homelessness, and the politicians say that we've been paying year after year, and we got to take care of this, and we got to take care of that, and we got to give free money to people, and we got to do all this stuff,
free needles,
and we have free this and free that, and people on we have to give them more welfare, and we have to give them more this and more that, and all this stuff. And we've been told that it's going to make a utopian society, that we're all going to be living in Shangri-La. People are going to be able to afford this and nothing's going to be bad. And we've had 10 years of this big lie. That's what it is.
It is a big lie.
It's a big lie, okay, of this socialism experiment, pushing the socialist agenda, getting people... You exponentially make the problem worse, and that's what we're downward spiraling right now into this oblivion. We've been doing it now, and we can see the results really the last 4 years. And everybody's going to blame COVID. COVID's got nothing to do with it. We were in this issue right at 2019. I called it actually with a few friends. A few friends of mine can support my statement. I told them then. They said, "Oh, things are going okay. I said, "We're in a recession." And they're like, "What do you mean recession?" I said to them, "The economy's really bad right now." You don't know, but we're busy and we're doing things. No, everything's going well. No. I said, "You're going to see." I said, "I see it now. It's you have government spending way above revenues and achieving very little growth. Way above revenues and achieving very little growth." I said, and this is exponential, because we're at that time we were adding $30 and $40 billion a year on top of that. Was federally, actually. I was having a discussion because we had one in 2019 and we had one in 2021, 2 elections. Both those elections, I was saying this, and so and here we are today, and it's actually even worse. We're now spending 45 to $50 billion more than we're taking in. We had it last year or the year before, 9% inflation, 7% and 9% and 20. People say 7 and 9%. I think it's 20% inflation. But we had all this inflation, and yet our GDP numbers haven't grown. They've grown 1%. It's a recipe for disaster. So what has to happen? You have to cut government spending. and you have to release the power of your economy. You can't, because your GDP needs to grow in order to. If you don't, you're in a downward spiral. We're in a massive downward spiral right now, and people. There's some people there who still they refuse to accept the fact that this experiment, this Sunny Ways experiment that we had for the last 10 years isn't freaking working. Like it's a joke, but you gotta, and we have a regional government that subscribes to this. These people in our regional government are no different than Justin Trudeau and his band of morons. They're wackos is what they are. Okay. They are. But this regional government is kind of the same way, because they're just there and they're oblivious to what is actually going on, because they keep hitting us with this stuff and they keep telling us that they care about housing and they care about the poor and they care about rents and they care about this and they care about that. But their actions don't support their words. So you people have to take it in your hands. And I've said this till I'm blue in the face. I say it 100 times. Every time I'm on this show, I think I say it, Paul. I think people are sick of me. Yeah. You know, but you have to elect people that actually give a crap about this stuff. Like you can't just, and I know it's regional stuff and it's boring because it's the big stuff. Like it's not sexy. Okay. Sewers and waters aren't sexy.
No,
but they do cost you money, and your bank account is sexy.
Eclipses are sexy.
Yeah. Well, eclipses are sexy or whatever, But Jim Bradley over there leading that council. And I would beg, if I saw Doug Ford in this room right now, I would beg him, like get on my hands and knees and beg him to get rid of the region. I would beg him to do that, because we're getting killed by them. And I wouldn't care so much if the region if it was reasonable, if it was reasonable in its proposals. I mean, it's tax increases, but it's not reasonable. It's not reasonable. I mean, like I said, all these councillors, they say, we care about rent. Well, what's the biggest influencer of the price of rent? Well, I mean, included in rents is water and sewer, and the property taxes. Like these guys pay the property taxes. So if you're increasing those, the rents are going up. The rents are going up, and you can't sit there and cry to us that rents are too high and there's greedy landlords because the rents are going up. No, it's your regional government's doing this to you, and your carbon tax is doing this to you. So, I mean, you guys people gotta take it. They gotta get angry. You gotta get angry, get as angry as everybody is at Trudeau right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, that's the problem. And so when you look at the police and what they need, well, they do need more money because they're patrolling a bigger Niagara Falls, a bigger region. And I think if you compare the police budget to the one in Hamilton, it's probably, if you compare population to population, it's probably about the same,
I think I remember reading something about the Hamilton police budget. I can't remember what it is, but I do know that Hamilton is a little bit more efficient with their government, right? Like their regional government's,
yeah, Hamilton. What is it? Hamilton Wentworth area, or something like that. Something like that. But Hamilton,
Hamilton Halton or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But now we go over to police services, so that's what you're going to get nicked by the police. Now, water and wastewater is going up 12.27% to 178 million, with 65 million going to infrastructure and hiring 20 more full-time staff.
Okay, so there you go. Right? Why you need 20 more full-time staff? What's been going on for the last 10 years? All of a sudden, what happened? Like how does wastewater need more staff? I just don't understand. What exactly do they do? I mean, okay, yeah, you got the guys in the sewage plants, right? They've already hired all those. I mean, we haven't built a new one yet.
No. Nope.
Right?
Not yet. They're
so when we build a new one, we're going to have to hire another 20. So
maybe more.
And part of this, I look at some of this stuff and I say, geez, maybe these guys are just keep hiring people and keep hitting us with this because they want to grow too big to break up. They want to make the region have so many employees that it would be hard for the provincial government to break up because there's all this severance stuff.
Maybe they have a strategy.
No, yeah, that's it. Grow too big to get rid of, right? It's right. Too big to fail kind of deal.
Too big to rig.
So, I mean, I think that might be part of the strategy there.
Well, what was really funny is this morning, right? I was talking to Dominic Cruz, and he said the guys at the gin. I have no idea what the gin was at that time. I know it's a Grimsby thing or something.
Yeah.
But they said that because of mismanagement over the years, that they should be charged because of mismanagement. And I'm going, hold it now. Okay, say it has been mismanagement. It isn't by this council because they've been there for 2 years. So it isn't by this, it's years and years because the reason is aging infrastructure. We have aging infrastructure in these cities that haven't been taken care of. So now we have to take care of them. So they're saying, so we have to raise the taxes, 12.27% raise. And I'm going, so former governments didn't do their job. And now these guys are doing their job and you're mad. No, it has nothing to do with that. People have to understand how all this works.
So again, capital investment. Okay, so now here's the other issue so if they have to replace these sewer lines and they have to do all that stuff,
yeah, 65 million worth.
Aren't they funding that through their capital increase?
They should. That's where it should come from.
No, I'm just saying, but isn't that what they're telling us they need the capital increase for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and isn't that what they're telling us that they need the property tax increase for?
Yes.
For replacing sewer lines and roads and stuff like that. So then why are we getting a hit with a 12.27% for capital for wastewater?
Because this is the sleight of hand. This is beautiful. They separate it out to make you think that, it's another charge. So they can tell you it's $476 million rather than 476 plus another 178, right?
So, and just to refresh everybody's memory, because you might be angry about this year, but I just want you to give it to you for the last 3 years so you can get extremely angry. 2023, they hit us with a 8.59% increase because they told us they needed to replace infrastructure. 2024, they hit us with another 7.95% increase because they told us that they needed infrastructure,
repair
infrastructure. 2025. Now this is on your water bill, right? So every time you take a shower, every time you drink a glass of water, every time you water your lawn, every time you flush the toilet, whatever it is. Okay. And 2025, your increase is now 12.27%. Grand total over the last 3 years. This is water now. This is the stuff that gives you life, that makes your flowers grow, that may I have 4 daughters, they all take showers, it's expensive, right? I'm going to start putting a meter. So 31.6% compounded 3 years. So I want you to think about that. 31.6% on the most basic thing and something that we have a lot of, okay, water. And 31.6% is on your consumption. And then on your wastewater, okay, that 31.6% goes on the wastewater. On your wastewater, which is what 1.2 or 1.3 of your consumption is. I
think it's more like 1.6 or 7.5 or
could be like something like that.
Yeah, they've jumped it a lot.
Yeah, they can play with that. That's the thing about the water bills is they got different facets, is like different screws there, and they just keep tightening each one, right? Like they can say your wastewater is like, treatment costs us more now, so the ratio has to go up a point or 0.5%, but you just put up our water because it costs more. So like why? Because that's your base cost to live. This is 31.6% that you can't avoid. You can't. What are you going to do? You're going to start stinking every day?
And and make no mistake, this goes on top of the raise to your capital, and this goes on top of the raise to the operations budget. This is separated out.
Completely separate.
So when they tell you, we're only, we want a budget of $750 million, no. It's $750 million plus. So don't make the mistake of listening to that.
And what I think the province should do is actually separate it right out of regional control completely. And I think that they should have a separate water department in every region or whatever it is, because it's shared services. Call it the Niagara region water, the way they do it in the States. They got the water authority in across the river. Have these counselors or these things voted on in a municipal election, the people who are running that thing, and have them commit to elections. Every time there's a municipal election, you got another line under there who you want to be on the water board or whatever it is, and that way you separate that whole department out of the region, the increased staff, the whole 9 yards, and then you can see exactly who's doing what, because this gets lost,
It does
in different things, right? So, and you can separate that out completely, and then it makes it easier also to get rid of the region if you have to.
That's why at the very beginning of this show, I said it's very, very confusing because money's moving all over. They've got different things they're charging you for. So they tell you, oh, we only raised that much this year. And then they add all this other stuff. But a tax is a tax, no matter what they want to call it, right?
And this is another tax.
Yes, exactly.
100%. And it's a very costly tax because this is every time you turn your tap on.
Yeah. So,
and it's 31%. So if you're spending $150 a month in water, now you're spending almost 190. So I want you to think about that. If you were spending 2022, if you were spending $100, now it's 190 or 150. Sorry, if you're spending 150, now it's 190.
You just wait till the new $450 million plant that's going to be worth $1 billion by the time they finish out in Grassy Brook, South Niagara.
Yeah.
Wait till that goes online and they have to start hiring people and everything. This number is going to look like peanut. We'll wish we had this number.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm sure but they already funded that plant.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But they haven't funded the employees, so they're going to hire probably another 20.
Well, they funded the Burgoyne Bridge for $30 million and ended up being $90 million.
Yeah, whatever.
$100 million. Yeah. So, we know how that works whenever these guys get involved, right? So, now moving over to transit, which is a real thorn in some city councilors' side, because when it left Niagara Falls, we were putting in $7.5 million a year. Now we pay double that, our share of it, because it's allocated by the population and the use, right? The higher the population, the bigger the use. So the more you have to pay. And that is an ugly car over there. So sorry, I got distracted by it. But so they want their budget to go up 5.9%. And it's going to be north of the $60 million dollar mark, which is about 50%, a 50% increase. So they said 5.9%, but it's going up. It's going up. And we have councilors who are asking to let people ride for free. And so this gets my goat because, hold it now, they're raising it. They want 60 million more. 60 million, right? And you want the people to ride for free?
Well, they want to be the experimental green bus program. I'm assuming that's
they're going to spend $42 million on that.
Yeah. So, which is just stupid. Number. Yeah, which is just stupid. Now, who does she want to ride for free?
Well, the people who are riding to get free food at Project Share, they can't afford to take the bus to get.
Well, they already get, most of those people already get free bus rides through Ontario Works.
So what are they?
Yeah, they already get free rides. I'm pretty sure that they get given free bus passes.
I can guarantee you nobody looked into any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Before they got up and talked.
No, 100% that I'm almost 100% positive that they get free bus passes if they qualify, if they go to Ontario Works. Yeah, I think so. If they're receiving
that makes sense.
Works, then I think they get free bus passes.
That makes sense.
But where transit's going to get hurt is this new immigration policy where they crack down on the schools now.
I never thought of that. So
they crack down on the schools, giving out those visas, student visas and stuff, on the student visas.
Yep.
So as part of their foreign student tuitions, it includes a bus pass bought by the college from the regional transit. So that's going to hurt their bottom line for sure.
I never thought of that, because up in Hamilton right now, McMaster's going through a $50 million deficit, and they're starting to lay people off and get rid of people because of this. They're not allowing these students to come in and hang around diploma mills anymore. They gotta come in here legally, right? Not with these goofy visas. So when they stop that, and you've got Brock University and Niagara College right around here, they use the Niagara Transit big time. I never thought about that. This is really going to affect the bottom line.
It'll affect the bottom line. And if you got a guy like Walter Sedzik at the top there, all it's going to be is he's just going to ask for more and more money. So he's not going to reduce this amount of service that he gives. That guy never reduces anything. He's just going to ask for more. I mean, he wants green buses now. So all these people that are currently you see at the bus stops that number will be reduced, not this year, but by next year and the year after.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's
did you talk to me about the green buses? Was it you?
Yeah, I think we did the last time I was here.
Yeah, we talked about that, where they're, rather than letting some other city with maybe more money experiment with green buses, which basically they're electric vehicles, letting them and then us seeing the results of it and how they work and then make it a move. We're going to do it right here, and it's going to cost taxpayers $42 million to do it.
Yeah.
And we were shaking our head going,
that's
no,
crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. Crazy talk.
It is crazy talk. And and even if you don't use the service or you don't use the service, you're paying for it because if you're a property taxpayer or you're a rent payer, because that transit is put on the property tax bill of the apartment building that you're renting from, or the house that you live in, or whatever. So you are paying for it directly or indirectly, whether you use the bus or you don't use the bus. I think that if you wanna do experiment in those things, then you put your transit fees up. You put your transit fees up, and then see how you get ridership. And if you don't get ridership, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So Niagara Regional Housing, we already talked about. Transit. We're going to get zapped by that again. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. This is the biggest nightmare ever when we went over there. It was supposed to be revenue neutral. We were going to save $7.5 million. They were going to charge us $7.5 million. So we washed out. Now it's like they're charging Niagara Falls probably about 18 to 20 million this year. It was about 15 or 16 last year. So we've doubled it, and since it went to the region, our share of it anyway. So yeah, here it comes. Another one, right? And all these capital budget items that we're talking about here are going to be approved at a meeting on December 12th. So if you're interested, watch the regional meeting on December 12th. That's when they're going to decide on all the stuff we just talked about. Now, Niagara Regional Housing, they want some more money, $100,000 from 2025. And, I saw these numbers and they're staggering. And I don't know how many people out there know it, but there's 12,000 applicants waiting to get into Niagara Regional Housing. And it represents about 20,000 people. And last I heard, there's a 9 or 10 year waiting list to get in. Yep. Why aren't they building more? Just build more.
I don't want government to build more. And there you go. There are. I mean, I don't want them to own it. It's always better farmed out. Okay, first of all, but secondly, you can subsidize people's rents. I suppose. But at the end of the day, the CMHC there was a program. I don't know if it still exists, but I'm pretty sure they provided interest-free loans to builders to build apartment buildings that would dedicate 20% of their units to low-income housing. So, and they would interest-free loans for 20 years, and then so reputable builders could go in. They could build a 100-unit apartment building. And 20 of those units would have to be dedicated towards low income, and that low income would be that low income rate. That market rate, that low income rate, would be determined by the income of the actual area there, right? So, but you didn't have a lot of uptake on that because what got in the way were municipalities not approving these projects, right? In certain areas, right? So you had developers willing to do that, because what developer wouldn't want an interest-free loan for 20 years? And that was federal. It had nothing to do with, it was just a federal loan. It was a federal program that in order to get housing built. And then a lot of municipalities just didn't buy in, right? So they wouldn't approve these projects. And And now, mind you, some of these developers were, trying to build on properties that were designated as employment lands or something else. But maybe those employment lands just shouldn't have been designated. That they were designated that in the '60s when things were different, right? So but I don't know. It's just I don't think government should be in the business of building housing. I think we should be subsidizing if you need to in a certain thing, but I don't believe it's a local responsibility. I really don't. Regional government does it. Niagara Falls doesn't do it. So regional government see, that's the problem with regional government. It's kind of in this thing. It's in between municipal responsibility and provincial responsibility. Now, technically, I think housing should be a provincial responsibility, not necessarily a municipal. So that shouldn't even be a concern of that,
of the region
or the city,
Yeah.
So and the province is best equipped to deal with that. Right?
So you're talking mostly it would be like long-term care. So the province would kind of regulate it and everything else, but it would be private enterprise that builds it.
Regulate it, subsidize it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have to be private enterprise that builds it. So you can have rents subsidized, even at market rents subsidized, because why do you need a whole new unit when you got an empty private unit there? Okay. And let's say the private unit is $1,500 a month. Okay. And you're subsidizing half of that. And the individual is responsible for $700 of it. And you're subsidizing the other $700 to keep them a house over their head, and your responsibility as the government is to just inspect these places, make sure they're safe and whatever it is. So you're subsidizing that rent, and you have a maximum, so that rent is actually controlled, where you don't have landlords saying, "Oh, well, it's $2,500 rent for one bedroom," right? So you kind of have that going. I know you're going to have landlords buy in. I know you're going to have landlords buy in on that. So because what's better for a landlord than a guaranteed check from the government? And the government says, well, as long as the rent is paid every month, that's it, right?
And I know a lot of building in the United States and in Florida, they do have this public housing like this that's owned by private enterprise, and they love it because when they open it, they got guaranteed rent forever, basically, and it's subsidized by the government. So they collect, like you said, $700 from the person, another $700 from the government, and that's basically guaranteed. And they have a place to live that's subsidized, they can afford to be in. And of course, you can still, throw them out if they
miss it. But you have the government as your joint landlord, basically. So you can go to the government and say, listen, this guy's not paying his half. So the government can turn around and say, okay, you're out.
Yep.
Right. So the government can do it, not you, because it's government subsidized. Right.
Yes.
So that's how I think that's a decent solution to all this. Instead of, like I said, building building an apartment building and saying, okay, this is a designated thing. And how are you going to build 20,000 units? It's not a small feat.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, and they're finding that out. They want to build 1.5 million by 2031, and that's falling by the wayside because it's not going to be able to happen. And they're bringing in 1.5 million more immigrants, which are going to need housing. And now the exodus from the United States, because Trump's going to throw them all out, they're going to come to Canada, and they're building encampments in Ottawa, Toronto, and Vancouver, I think, and Montreal, to accept these people who want to come over our border because Trump's throwing them out. They don't want to go back to Guatemala.
Sure, yeah. Let's bring in the ones who are taking over apartment buildings in the States, and let's bring them over here. Let's bring them over here. Yeah, well, Trudeau let them in, no problem. It's insane. But
well, it's going to happen. So you think our housing is going to get better?
Yeah, but housing. There's better solutions for housing. You can build units, but private industry can build it. Government is not capable of building units. It's that simple.
Yeah. And one last thing before we go, because we got to get out of here. But we talked about a couple of things I had to talk about, but so we don't have to talk about them. But the one thing I want to ask you, the Niagara Regional Police, $6.77 million is for their capital part of their budget, and they want to buy some new cruisers, right? The other part, hiring, is operations part of it. They want to get a mask fit tester for $16,000. So they can determine that the fit and seal of N95 masks are right. Now, see, when you start going through line items on these budgets, and I'm looking at the city budget right now, this is the kind of stuff. Do they really need to spend $16,000 to determine the fit and seal of an N95 mask?
What do they think is going to happen? That's my question. My first question is, what do you think is going to happen that you need that?
I don't know.
Right? What do you think is going to happen?
A nuclear bomb, but that N95 isn't going to protect you from radiation.
Do they assume that
we're going to get another
COVID pandemic?
Are they planning another COVID? 16,000. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot when you're looking at 215 million, 16,000. But you know what? These little 16,000,
they all add up.
And before you know it, you're at $5 million. And you're going, why are they spending this? And that's why I wanted to say that to you. $16,000 to determine the fit and seal of N95 masks for the police force.
And then they need a trained person who knows how to use it.
Well, that's another 16,000.
Well, no, I mean, I don't even know how you, so you're going to have someone on staff just in case. You're going to pay someone on staff. Either you're going to pay them extra money to get trained in how to use this thing. Okay. Or you're going to have a dedicated person that sizes and fits everybody for N95 masks that they may or may not need.
With a $16,000 tester.
I don't know. I can't agree. I just don't think it's necessary, but it's in there. So,
and
it's approved.
And I've noticed that I'm going through the city budget, and there's a thing for something. It says some kind of recreation thing, and it's got like this, lawnmower and hedge trimmers and trimming equipment, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it, there's like $12,400 for something that has nothing to do with that whole list of things they're getting for like lawn equipment and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like right in the middle of it, and it's almost like somebody just stuck into there hoping nobody notices, and it's $12,700 worth. And this is what they do, right? And and it even goes back to anything. When you look in the United States, they say, well, Trump wouldn't pass the border thing to close the border because they had a lot of pork in there to send to Ukraine. That's why, they're phonies. They lie to you. They distract you like magicians.
Yeah.
Look over here while they're taking this over there. And when I said at the beginning of the show, it's really hard to go through this and figure out. I wasn't kidding. I spent a few hours on it, and I'm just looking, going, Chris, I can't figure it all out. I mean,
no, it's definitely just a spaghetti ball of expenditures, and I don't blame the average person for being bored with it all, but they don't hit you anymore with the final number, until they've already approved it, right? Like, so they release these things piecemeal all the way through, and then they smack you in the face. It's just like a jab. They just lull you to sleep. Like you're dancing around, they're dancing around. They maybe throw a jab at it, and then they come along and go, boom, there you go, right hook, and knock you silly.
And then you're sitting there going like, what happened? But when you watch it and you follow it, that's the whole thing. People have to get involved. They have to watch and follow these things. And because you can't depend on counselors who probably don't go through it themselves. I'm telling you, there's no counselor sitting in the city of Niagara Falls other than maybe Counselor Laurie Lococo, who's going to go through 382 pages of the budget and look at it as best as they can, line item, and say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? It's just, it doesn't happen. I'll guarantee you, because when you watch the budget meeting for regional or city, you're going to see very few people stand up and challenge anything. They're going to rely on staff. Okay, if that's what you need, that's what you need.
No, I hate that. I don't agree. Now, Lori doesn't challenge the staff on the right things, mind you. However, at least she reads it.
She does go through it.
I don't think that she's got the right eyes for looking at the budget. If it was up to her,
another problem.
Yeah, if it was up to her, I think she'd be spending more on housing and more on this and more on that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just saying,
social warriors.
At the end of the day, you do need people, but you got to take responsibility yourself too, because you can't trust. It doesn't matter who the politician is. It doesn't matter who the bureaucrat is. It doesn't matter. You can't trust that they're going to tell you everything, because they're not. Because it's not politically, it's not economically, it's not morally in their best interest to do so. So, you have to take it upon yourself to kind of educate yourself. And all I can say to people is take an interest. If you're going to complain about the increases, take an interest in the actual things they're spending the money on, and try to figure out where is this money going, and how come the capital budgets keep going up? How come they keep asking me for more money? Why is it that they don't expire and the money goes back into the coffers and into the next capital project? Why do they keep asking me for more? And it's a snowball effect. How does this money affect not just me? How does it affect the small business guy? And look at all the way through. It's not just you paying your bill is 31% higher or 25% higher. It's the bill when you go to the restaurant. It's the bill when you go fill up your gas tank. It's the bill when you go to the grocery store. They're all higher because of this. On top of your own bill, right? Your direct bill. You get the direct and indirect. Like I said, the multiplier effect. It's not quite as direct, but it's there. So if you got to pay, if that grocery store has to raise their prices by 1% in order to cover this extra 31% in water and wastewater that they've got now, guess what? That's an extra cost to you on top of your 31% increase that you've suffered yourself. So, you guys out there, you gotta pay attention to what's going on, because if you don't call them on it, it's just going to keep going on. I mean, the region is out of control. They're completely, they have no sense of consequence to their what they propose,
or fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, because they no fiscal responsibility, because they suffer no consequences for making these decisions.
Exactly.
Right. So I mean, if they don't suffer any consequences, of course they're going to keep doing it.
So contact your counselor that's sitting on region, and our counselors for Niagara Falls, Joyce Morocco, Kim Crater, and Bob Gale. If you have questions, you don't like what's going on, contact them and tell them. Get some explanations. When people get involved, things change. If you just sit back and let them do what they want,
and don't let them tell you, I know, I understand, I know, I understand. Well, if they do know and they do understand, why aren't they up vocal about it and opposing it? Right? And that's the job of each counselor. Okay,
they get paid for it.
That's the job of each counselor. So if you can't. Oh, I understand. Yeah, it's really hard. I know. Oh, it's crazy. No. Well, then why aren't you saying anything, Kim? Why aren't you saying anything, Joyce? Why aren't you saying anything, Bob? Why don't we hear you up there in these councils? Why don't we see you up in these council meetings, taking these guys to task over this stuff? Let's get on it. Like Bob used to do it, and now he's just stopped. I don't know what's going on there. Bob at least was one guy you could count on.
Yeah.
To stop it. But lately, I don't know what's going on. Like, why did he stop all of a sudden? I'm not sure.
Who knows?
But at the end of the day, it's each citizen's responsibility to let these guys know. That's simple.
And on that note, I'm going to check out here for today. My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Chris Rigas. We've been looking at the regional budget, and I got the coughs all of a sudden. Don't ask me why. Check out the regional budget. Watch it on TV. Follow it. See what you think. If you think we said anything that is wrong or you don't agree with, leave a comment on the video. It'll be up by about 3 o'clock. Leave a comment on the video. If you agree with us, give us a thumbs up. If you're there and you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button so you know the videos pop up in the afternoon. We thank you for listening. Support our sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Victoria Avenue Pizza. And have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday at noon, where I'm going to be discussing the city budget, the capital budget for the city, Mayor Jim's capital budget. That's what I'm doing in here on Monday. On Manic Monday, we'll see you then at noon. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and be safe out there.